It's time to take a look at the half-band detachment for the Leagues of Votann, the brand new way to run your Votann armies. Now, in this detachment, we're going to be taking a look at the stratagems, the enhancements, and some of the key combinations that will make this detachment work. If you like your half-guard, your Carls, and even the High Carl, yes, he is back. We're going to be taking a look at all this in this overview, so join us and let's find out if this is the new way to run the Leagues of Votann.
Coming up is going to be an overview of the brand new detachment that Games Workshop have been releasing for Warhammer 40,000. We're going to look at whether this detachment is going to be a competitive choice, whether it's going to be one that's more flavorful and narrative, and maybe something that you might want to consider trying yourself, or alternatively, what you need to know and look out for if you're going to be playing against some of these new detachments. Now, to take things a little bit further on our members page, and if you want to become a YouTube member, the link's going to be in the description. You are going to get a list for this detachment, something that's super competitive, super flavorful, and we're going to make the most of what we can do with this detachment. Now, as we always say, we will try and help you use the models that you own, and we're going to give you some top combos that you can introduce into your list to really make the most of them. Now, not only that, but you're also going to get loads of additional members content, whether it's our live members lounge where you can get your questions answered, or even dictate our games that we play on streams on Fridays. And on our masterclass series, we go one step further. We show you the list, we show you how to deploy it, and we also show you some advanced tactics. And the best thing about that is that you're going to understand exactly how every single faction plays in the game of Warhammer 40,000, so you don't get caught out at the tabletop. We're all about helping you feel like you're able to compete at the table, and knowing all that information is going to be one of those steps to ensure that you don't get gotcha momented. So enjoy this detachment overview, and we really hope and look forward to your feedback and some of the best ways to play this detachment.
It's time to take a look at the half-band Leagues of Votann Detachment from the Grotmas calendar. Thank you to Games Workshop for providing us with the preview access so we can look at these brand new detachments for you. And I have none other than our Votann expert, Jake, to talk through this new detachment. Jake, what's going on with this detachment?
I'm very excited for this detachment, Michael, because finally we've got something new that isn't Jaegers. We actually have a new way of playing Votann. Will it be better than the Index? Well, we'll have to find out, won't we? So should we start off with what the detachment actually does?
Yes, so what's our detachment rule and what do we get from it?
So the detachment rule is called Methodical Annihilation. So how this works is pretty simple. So when a Votann unit targets a unit that's the closest to eligible target, they can reroll ones to hit.
Okay.
In addition, if the unit that's attacking is Uthar the Destined, a Carl, or a Hearthguard unit, you get an extra AP on your attacks as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is quite interesting. So we don't really have any access to rerolls at all in Votann. So now we've just given potentially a lot of our army reroll ones, which is really helpful. Yeah. And especially with obviously judgment tokens giving us like pluses to hit as well. You can have like your Hearthguard, for example, 2s to hit, rerolling ones extra AP. But then even for your units that aren't, you know, Hearthguard, still rerolling ones can be quite useful, especially like on things like Berserkers, Bikes, Thunderkin, all those sort of units. So yeah, it's definitely a very tasty detachment rule. Yeah,
okay, fantastic. Where do you think the biggest impact of, do you think Hearthguard now are so much stronger in this attachment? Obviously, the loss from the other Index attachment is we can't give out judgment tokens at the start of the game, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so the trade-off is that you either give 4 units before the game +1 to hit and wound, which is just incredible, or you have pretty much most of your army with reroll ones to hit, and then your Hearthguard and such get an extra AP. Yeah. Me personally, I still think the Index one wins out over it. I think if you were to turn around to any player and say, would you like to give 4 units before the game extra, you know, hit and wound, on top of that as well, you get a bunch of CP if you do that. Yeah. It's also the fact of that you're not going to be starting the game with any judgment tokens on anyone, which just means that like it just makes everything a lot harder. But I do definitely think Hearthguard in this detachment are very strong because they already have an insane shooting output, as we've seen multiple times.
Yes.
Now all of that with an extra AP and re-rolling ones. And they're a unit that didn't necessarily always need the +1 to hit from judgment tokens, because they're actually the only unit in the book that hits on 3s naturally. Yeah. I also do like Thunderkin for this as well, because if you pair them with an Iron Master, they always get the +1 to hit.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Very interesting. Finally his rule does something.
Yeah, which is... It took long enough, right? Yeah. But yeah, like I think, as I said, it's a good little detachment rule. I'm hoping the enhancements sort of keep the sort of momentum, right?
Yes, I'm sure they will. So what is our first enhancement?
So the first enhancement is called Bastion Shield. So what this does is that if an enemy unit targets your unit, well, the bearer's unit, and they're within 12 inches, then you reduce their AP by 1.
Okay, all the time?
All the time. Now, this is really, really, really strong on Hearthguard. So again, like, you don't really have any other use for this on any other unit in the army. Hearthguard, though, especially like with some changes that we've seen in the balanced data slate that's just come out, with the AOC reduction, where now it only works for the attack sequence.
Yes.
Now you essentially have that all the time
Permanent.
on a 2-up save unit that is already -1 to wound. I think straight away this is an amazing enhancement that goes in. If you're going to take 10 Hearthguard, you take this enhancement.
Yeah, 100%.
It's fantastic.
I like the idea of rapid ingressing potentially as well. Yeah. You know you're within 12 inches of the unit that can shoot you, and you're just like, try it.
Yeah, because it's not happening. So that's a super strong enhancement, especially, like I said, for a unit that has a 2-up save. I think that's probably, like, that's so good already. So let's see if the next one does it. So the next one is called Quake Multi-Generator.
Okay.
So pretty simple. So it's Carl only. And what this does is that after you've resolved your shooting attacks against a unit, or you pick a unit that you shot. So, if you split fired, you have multiple to choose from, or if you shot one, you pick one. Yeah. And that unit's -1 to hit.
Until the start of your next...
Yeah.
Okay, right.
So this is good. This is okay. Not the most useful, like when we've just come from this AP reduction.
Of course.
But still, it's okay. It's nothing to write home about, but maybe if you've got some spare points.
It's very matchup dependent, right? Because if there is an enemy unit that is very powerful, this doesn't work against Titanic, but works against everything else, right? So if there is a very powerful enemy unit, let's say you're playing against my guard and I had a Rogal Dawn, and you just hit this Rogal Dawn with this ability, that is massively neutering the firepower. And it's not just against the Carl's unit, right? It's against everything. So even your land forts, everything else is now -1 to hit. Interesting. Yeah,
it's okay. Like, again, this isn't something that I would write home about.
No, fair enough. Okay, so what do we have next?
So the next one is called Iron Skeen. And it's pretty simple. You just get +2 wounds for your model.
Okay.
E-Champ's really good with this because he goes to 7 wounds. So now it's a T6 7-wound model that could potentially kick out loads of damage.
He's a beefy boy.
Yeah. Carl's as well are all right with this.
Yeah.
But again, I don't think it's worth it enough.
It's a nice to have, I suppose. Yeah. What's the final one then?
The best one is literally last. Okay.
Okay.
It's Hi Carl. It's back. It's back. It's back. The joke is back. And I could cry because it's the best thing that they could have done for Votann. Okay. This is probably, if you want no other reason to play this detachment, it's just for this enhancement.
Right.
And it also helps. It's actually quite good. It gives the bearer's unit 4-up fight and death.
Okay.
Which is incredible because, again, pairing it with Hearthguard, one of the biggest downsides of Hearthguard is just simply like their combat is really good. It's just, though, if someone comes into them and they can wipe them out first, you don't really get to see that.
Yes.
With this enhancement, there's now a chance that's going to happen. I really like the idea of this on like a 5-man trading unit. So you can have it, maybe get out of a land fortress, it's re-rolling its wound, it's getting extra AP, it's re-rolling ones with all its Volkite, then charges in, hit something, and then is ready to sort of take like a bit of a hit.
And even when it does fight on death, it's still got reroll ones to hit. Yeah. It's still got extra AP against things it's in melee with.
Yeah. It could even be hitting on 2s depending on if it's got...
But what's great, of course, is when you do fight on death, you do get the reroll ones to hit, and you get the extra AP. So your opponent really has to think about what they invest into that unit. And it's not the only fight on death unit that Votann have.
No, so you could have like... You could have 3 units of Berserkers, and then you could have maybe like, even if you wanted a unit of 10 Hearthguard with this. As I said, I like the 5-man unit because if you were to take a 10-man unit, I think you'd rather have that with the AP reduction. So those are the enhancements. Now, overall, we've got 2 pretty meh ones, but 2 really, really good ones. I think Hi Carl will be in every list, and not just because of the name, and not just because it's finally back. And then you've got the Bastion Shield, which for the AP reduction. So again, if you're wanting to build around this sort of Hearthguard theme, now what's nice about this detachment as well, which is one of my favourite things, is that yes, there's loads of emphasis to take Hearthguard, but if you don't take Hearthguard, you're not super penalised.
Yeah.
Because Berserkers with reroll ones to hit is still great, but then it's just the extra AP from the Hearthguard, which is going to be really nice.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. There's an argument to say you probably just run the old one if you're not going to run the Hearthguard. but we've not even touched on the stratagems yet.
No.
So what's our first stratagem?
So the first one is called Breckenot.
Okay.
I think. So it's 1 CP. You do this in the shooting phase, your opponent's shooting phase or the fight phase.
Right.
And you can pick a Carl, Uthar the Destined, or Hearthguard unit, and that unit gets a 4+ invulnerable save.
Hearthguard don't have an invuln normally, do they?
They don't. So a Carl, if he's leading the unit and he has the Rampart crest, gives them a 5+.
Right. Okay.
And normally it's only the Sergeant that has a 4+, again, depending on what war gear you take.
Yeah.
Whereas now, for 1 CP, you have a 4+. So again, this has already helped us massively.
Yeah.
You know, again, sort of filling the holes where, you know, it's funny because Hearthguard is such a cool unit anyway, and now it's like even more incentives to take them, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's really, really good. You could use this though on a Carl leading warriors or something else if you chose to do that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So yeah, there's like it's endless possibilities really. Like you can have units that are being led, and you know, only warriors and Hearthguard can be led by Carls, which is, you know, like it's okay. As I said, this is where the emphasis on the Hearthguard it already comes in. But like you said, it's nice to have.
Yeah, cool, fantastic. Because you could have the one unit that ignores the pip of AP with the enhancement, and then the other unit can just have this 4+ invuln. Very, very nice. Okay. What's our next stratagem?
So next up we have Sure of Purpose. So this is 1 CP. You do this in the fight phase, and you get a 6-inch pile-in and consolidation.
Oof. I mean, we've seen this have great success in some of the very spicy Genestealer Cult builds before the December data slate. This is in some of the Advent detachments as well. Why do you think this is so powerful? What does this allow you to do?
Well, so for an army that only moves 5 inches, already this is quite strong, okay? Mainly because of the ability to be able to sort of get as many models as you need in. It means that, like, if you're rolling a lowish charge, you still have the possibilities to be able to get as many in as possible. But equally, for the pile-in move, it means that you could equally tag loads of things, or equally get as many models or sort of onto an objective as possible. I think very, very good stratagem, and one that really does just help the army. A slow-moving army where there's not really a lot of access to any like run and charge, anything like that. Having your 6-inch pile-in and consolidate is like the next best thing.
Yeah, yeah, it's amazing. You know, you can hit all sorts of different units with it, but what I think it shines here is you have this unit that's so tough that if you do end up just sort of pushing it into like 3 or 4 different enemy units, even like a Space Marines trying to kill you, this could be the unit that ignores a pip of AP. They're still going to struggle. Yeah. So yeah, really good stratagem. Really good stratagem. Does it get better? What's the next one?
So the next one, Superior Craftsmanship. Now, one downside is it's 2 CP. Okay.
Okay.
But the buff you get is pretty good, and the buff is you get +1 damage in combat versus monsters and vehicles.
For anyone?
For anyone. Okay.
For berserks?
For berserkers. Or Hearthguard. So again, if we were to look at it from like the generalistic point of view, you've now entered berserkers being 4 damage on the mauls. You could equally have them with axes, and the axes become flat 3.
Right. They've got a sweep as well, right?
They do have a sweep that could be flat 2, but again, because it's only versus monsters and vehicles, it sort of really depends. The mauls probably do just sit above everyone else, but it's just something to note, right? And it's really good. Hearthguard, though, all their fists go to flat 3. A Carl goes to flat 4. Okay. Uthar the Destined goes to flat 3, and he's got dev, and you can flip one of his dice to a 6, so you can instantly just do 3 dev wings to someone.
That's good. Okay, yeah, that is a great stratagem.
It is really good. As I said, the downside is TCP and Votann don't have any ways to manipulate things, so things like Lord of Deceit do really ruin your day with that. Luckily, though, you don't really see, you know, it's normally in one area of the table, and sometimes you may not see them near those sort of monster vehicles, but it may force them to have to do that.
And to be fair, Lord of Deceit doesn't always show up in armies that have a lot of monsters and vehicles, so you should be okay. Yeah, that is very good. And it's an interesting one, right? Because in the old detachment, you're more likely to get the judgment tokens, but in this one, actually, monsters and vehicles are likely to be the ones killing your units. Yeah. So therefore, if they do manage to have like 1 token, and maybe your Carl uses his Grim whatever ability to give him another one, then that +1 to wound with +1 damage is nuts.
Well, this is the thing, is that so on a bit of a tangent, with the old detachment, because you already gave 4 units before the game the double, having a Carl, I personally never took them because one of their rules was just completely redundant. Yeah. Whereas now there's an argument to go, okay, well, like you don't have as many. So you know, these Carls are actually a lot more useful.
Yeah, yeah, fantastic, fantastic. Okay, well, after that banger, what have we got as our fourth stratagem?
So next up, we've got Unyielding Aggression. So this is 1 CP. You do this in the movement phase, and it's after a unit's fell back, it can now fall back, shoot, and charge.
Fantastic. Is it any unit?
Any, I know, just infantry.
Okay, right.
So this is like a worse version of the one in the index. So like it's good for things like Berserkers, they can fall back and charge. You've got Thunderkin, fall back and shoot. Hearthguard, fall back and do both.
Yes.
But it's a shame that it's just like a budget version of the index one, really.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're encouraged to take a lot more infantry in this attachment anyway, I think. So this is very useful. If they didn't have this, I think they'd be very upset, right? Because once you're stuck in, you're literally there forever. But at least now, if you've got like that one Berserker still alive, you can step back, run, charge, and kill somebody else. Yeah, good stratagem. Good stratagem.
That's right. Yeah. So next up is Materialization Matrices.
Just
something like that. hopefully I've done it.
You've done it.
Really simple. You get a 6-inch deep strike.
Okay, so in line with all of the new stuff.
Yeah, so obviously Balanced Data Slate came out, meant that all the 3-inch deep strikes are now 6-inch. This is like the exact same thing. So 6-inch deep strike, but you can't charge.
Okay.
Which is still good. Like,
well, you never had a 3-inch deep strike before.
No. So this is good.
So
yeah. The no charging is fine as well because you've got the Volkite. If again thinking about Hearthguard of this,
of course,
you can have your big unit of 10 if you want come down. They're now going to be able to definitely shoot the closest target. They're now extra AP, re-rolling ones. Like it's just all it's all coming up Millhouse there. So yeah, I really like this one. I think it's great.
Yeah, fantastic. And what is our final stratagem?
So the final one is called Fury of the Half. So this is 1 CP, do it in your shooting phase, and basically all of your non-blast weapons get rapid fire 1.
Okay, for Hearthguard?
For Hearthguard. Okay. So looking at this on like a positive note, well, let's look at the negatives actually first. So not on the grenade packs. Oh well, they get about 1 billion shots anyway. Now let's look at the cool things here. So your Volkites could be 4 shots each.
Yes.
More importantly, it makes the plasmas 2 shots each.
Yeah, that's double.
Yeah, so this is the thing, is the plasmas I've always felt were a bit of a like no option with Hearthguard, just due to the fact of they're only 1 shot.
Yeah.
You know, they're flat 2, like a really good stat line, but just the 1 shot was just a bit pony. Yeah. Now you're getting 2 shots, like that can actually do quite a lot of damage.
Yeah, well they go to AP4, right?
Yeah, AP4, re-rolling 1s, flat 2.
How do you feel overall about the stratagems?
Good. They're good. I think like you've got +1 damage is amazing. The 6-inch deep strike's really good. The fullback shoot and charge is like it's just nice to have that.
Yeah.
In general, I think like Votann detachments need that, otherwise they just get hunkered down.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I think they're all pretty good. Yeah. It's definitely like a positive note because this is the thing: is are they better than the index ones? So index, you've got bumping your AP depending on how many judgment tokens you have. That is fantastic. Sustained is fantastic as well. Armour of Contempt got nerfed in the latest Balanced Data Slate, as we know. Yeah. So that's like not as useful. Shoot back, to be honest, I barely ever found I had the CP for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so overall, like, if we were to compare the index and this one, they probably actually have about the same amount of good stratagems. Yeah. So as I said, like, it's looking good. Yeah. It's looking good.
Yeah. Okay. So overall perspective then, how does this army then look different to an index Votann? What can people expect?
I think you take a lot more Hearthguard. So obviously you'll see, if you're a member of the channel, like lists that we do for these. I've built a list that is very Hearthguard centric. I think you definitely in any list would have a unit of 10 with that sort of minus AP enhancement. But I think you're really getting the most out of this detachment by just taking Hearthguard. Whereas in the index detachments, what we're really seeing at this current moment in time is actually no one takes Hearthguard. Which is interesting, right? And it's not to say that this detachment wouldn't have them, but it's just that this unit works is great even without having judgment tokens. Whereas in the a lot of the index detachment, a lot of the units you're seeing are units that need tokens to really sort of benefit.
Which you basically have for free because of the detachment.
Well, yeah.
So I guess it's going to be quite a harsh reality change when people switch to this new detachment. So they've got to really bear with it and see how it goes and adapt.
Yeah.
So you've written a list, obviously, that'll be over on our members side of the channel. So definitely join us. The link is below if you want to become a member. But for now, Jake, thank you for running through the brand new Votann.
Oh, that's right.
I just wish they had more models.
Yes, I do. Yeah, I do wish as well. Yeah.
And with that, we'll see you in the next video.